Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into my craft room. It's the fourth Friday of the month. That means that I'm going to be live crafting with you for about an hour. I'm hoping very much that everything is looking and sounding okay. I'm just going to have a quick look at my iPad and check over there. Just bear with me. Here we go. I don't know what the time delay will be like. Sometimes there's a lot of a lag and sometimes there's not too much. I can see myself. Let's just see if... Oh, yeah, and I can hear myself. Okay, so a quick note about sound. We've been on a bit of a roll. The sound had been great, and then obviously Facebook have done something behind the scenes again. Another update, and certainly the last time I was here, which was only a week ago, last week, the sound was coming and going again. I do get quite a lot of comments on this. I apologise for it. It is not to do with my equipment. All my equipment is working beautifully. I've tested it, and then I've also taken some technical advice who confirm that it is not me, it is them. So it's something that happens on Facebook. It's out of my control, and because it's a behind the scenes thing, and then all of a sudden they'll tweak something again and the issue resolves. It's really irritating, both for me and for you, but I apologise. As I say, it's completely out of my control. There is nothing I can do my end. So there we go. As always, I'm going to fiddle around with my leads and try and get them so they're not too annoying for you. Let's just see if I can hook that one back a little bit more. There we go. All right, so news and reminders then. Not a lot for you this week. The sale is on at the moment, so items from the seasonal catalogue, that's the September to December mini catalogue, that started, and there are some items which are discounted. Most items are not, which is normally to do with how much they've got left in the warehouse and how well things have sold. If things sell well, they don't need to discount them. However, pretty much everything in that catalogue is not going to carry over. There's a handful of items which will. If you're on my mailing list, then you will have seen in my latest newsletters that I attached the carryover list for you. But most things are going to discontinue. Some of them have sold out already, and others will be selling out, I have no doubt at all. So if there is anything that you've had your eye on in the autumn and winter mini catalogue, then I advise you to get it sooner rather than later. If you look on my website, and in a sec when I put the camera down, I've got my website listed there for you. If you have a look there in the online shop, you can instantly see what's available and what the price is, if it's been discounted, and if it's in the shop, then it's available for you to buy. My next order isn't going in until the 8th of December, so if you do have things you want, of course I will happily order them for you then, but you might find that they've sold out, because that's yeah, more than a few days ahead, a little bit over a week ahead. So you're probably best off ordering through my online shop, and that will just get shipped to you directly at home. But if you'd like me to order for you, please let me know. What was I going to say then? Next order, Christmas shopping dates. That's it. That was the other thing. I knew it was attached to ordering. So Stampin' Up is saying that their last date for them to ship things so that they should arrive in time for Christmas is the 15th of December. So they will do their bit, but of course the UPS delivery and the customs leaving Europe and coming into the UK are completely out of their control. It's always a busy time for parcels, so I'm sure those things will slow up. So if there are things that you know you want to order for Christmas to give as gifts, or for your Christmas crafting, or perhaps you're shopping for yourself and you're just going to hand it over to somebody, often it's your partner, your husband, your kids, and say, this is what I'd like for Christmas, please, here it is, all you have to do is wrap it up, then get your order in sooner rather than later. So the 15th is the absolute deadline, but that doesn't guarantee that it will arrive in time for Christmas. It's just that Stampin' Up will get it shipped and out of the warehouse, so that if everything's working as it should arrive for Christmas. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to be showing you some gift card holders today, talking about Christmas. I have quite a lot of adult children, nieces, nephews that I buy for, and very often they ask for either cash or for gift cards, which is fine, because quite often there's nothing they need right now, but then in the future there will be, and then at least I will have been able to buy it for them, even if a little bit indirectly. So I never mind being asked for those, but I do think they look much more interesting if you make something pretty for them to go in, rather than just the probably cheap envelope that they come with, and then they don't look very exciting at all. So that's what I'm going to be doing with you today. And my last live of the year will be on December the 8th, so that's 2 weeks today. I haven't quite decided what I'm doing. I imagine it will be something to do with thank you cards, because that's what we'll be needing next after all the Christmas cards are made. Probably thank you cards, but I haven't quite thought that far ahead yet. So yeah, gift cards. Right, let me turn the camera down, and I will try and get everything sorted a lot more quickly than I did last week. I got impatient with myself last time. But this time, hopefully, I will get it sorted a little bit quicker and we'll get crafting. I'm going to cover you over just for a moment so that everything isn't upside down and moving around while you're trying to focus, because that might be really nasty. Okay, and let me see. We've got cables everywhere as usual. I can't see until my iPad catches up whether I am even close to having everything in view. Oh, that's actually that's not too bad. Let's bring it just forward a little bit. I want you to see a little bit more of my desk if I can manage that. Okay, and I have got shadows in, so I'm sorry about the shadows. It's very hard to get rid of those. Particularly this time of year when I have to have lights on. I do my best with the lighting, but hopefully you can manage that okay. All right, that's my email address. That's my website. So there we go. I'll leave those there just for a minute in case you need to copy something down. So I've got 3 different styles of gift card holder I'm going to show you today. We're going to start with a little easy one, then we're going to move to one that's a little bit more involved, but not very, because nobody's got time to do lots of involved stuff this time of year, and then go back to another one that is pretty straightforward. All right, let me move that. I can always put it back if anybody needs it. All right, so first of all, the easy one. So for each of these, I've got a sample made to show you how it works, and then I'm going to make one that's different, so you'll get a couple of different ideas. Ooh, that shadow's really there. I might have to grab another light in a minute. I might have to do that. All right, so this is the first one. This is quite small. This measures just over 4 inches by 3 inches. Where are we? 4 1/4 by, I think it's 3 1/4. 3 1/4 inches. It's a top folding card, and inside you've got somewhere to write, and you've just got a little pocket to tuck your card into. So let me lift that up so that you can see it a little bit more easily. Try and get that in the middle. And somewhere I've got a note of this, what this paper is. I can never remember what this is called. This paper is the Joy of Christmas paper. The stamps I used are the Christmas classic ones. That's for the words and the holly. I've decorated the end of this greetings strip with the Happy Labels Pick a Punch, and I've used some red rhinestones on here. My ink is Old Olive and Real Red. The card is Real Red. So there we go. So that's the first one. I'm just going to leave that there for you to look at while I just see if I can grab a light and get rid of some of this shadowing. To know where to put extra lights to try to get the best from them and not create more of a problem. I think that's a little bit better than it was. It's really difficult this time of year, no matter how many lights I have, there's always shadows from something because the sun is so low. There we go. Okay. So gift card holder then. Let me give you the measurements. So my card base is 4¼ inches by 6½ inches, scored landscape at 3¼ inches. So landscape is this way round, like a landscape would be. Portrait is this way, more like a portrait would be. So with the long side at the top, I've scored it at 3¼ inches, which is just in half. My layer on the front is 4 inches by 3 inches. My pocket inside is 4¼ inches by 1½ inches. And I've just used paper for this. You could use card if you preferred, and you could stamp it, but patterned paper instantly cuts out a step, and I'm all about quick at this time of the year. And then my insert here is 4 inches by 3 inches. Okay, so let's get started. So for the one I'm going to make today, I've actually gone even shortcuttier, if that's a word, and I've used one of the Beary Christmas Memories and More cards. So this is printed on both sides, and I've got my sentiment and my decoration on that straight away. So I thought, yes, let's use one of those. I've got a 1¾ inch circle punch. You can find this online. I've got some double-sided tape, which I don't use that often, but it's particularly easy for the pocket on this, so that's what I'm using. And I've also got some of the Beary Christmas Memories and More stickers. These come in the card pack along with the cards. You get 2 sheets of each, so 4 sheets altogether, 2 of those, 2 of those. So I might use one of these on the insert, I'm not quite sure yet. My card base is Night of Navy. That's one of the colours in the cards. I've just got white for my insert, and then I've used a piece of the Beary Christmas paper for my pocket inside, and I thought this was really cute because it matches the jumper on the polar bear. So there we are. Let's do the front first of all. So all I've got to do is glue my card on, and then boom, my front is done. It doesn't come much easier than that. I am actually going to add a little bit of sparkle. I've got my Wink of Stella here, so I will add a little bit of bling to it, but I haven't got to worry about making a banner or anything like that. I've just done a big smear of glue. Did you see me do that? Just here, look. All right, so the pocket for inside, if you look on here, you can see that I've punched. It's not quite as much as a semicircle, it's about 1/3 of a circle out there, just to make it easier to get hold of that gift card. So I'm going to do the same on this, and that's why I have my 1¾ inch circle punch. You can use other sizes of circle. You could use a die. It doesn't have to be a circle. It could be a square, a rectangle, a label. You just want something to take some kind of a notch out of there. You could even hand cut it if you wanted to. Right, I'm looking for my pencil. I'm just going to mark the center of this paper using the ruler on my grid paper to help me. I've turned it upside down because that's the edge that I'm going to be punching. There we are. So I've just put a mark there. So now I know where the centre is. You could eyeball that. And with my punch upside down, I can see how far the paper has come into the punch. And I don't want to go too far down, because if I go too far down here, then time I've glued the bottom, I've got no paper left. I've just got a big hole with the card sitting there. So I need enough space at the bottom for my gluing, and then a little gap, and then the punching. So I think about there probably. So now I just need to pop that in here inside the card, and I am going to use the tape on this. This is a 1/4 inch wide tear and tape, and it's just the perfect size for holding this in place. You don't want to glue too far in at the edges or too high up, and you definitely need to kind of think about what you're doing, because I don't want to glue this top edge, otherwise I'm not going to be able to put my card in. So I'm just going to put it on the 2 short sides. You could use glue, of course you could, but just glue the two short sides and the bottom, and then that leaves enough space to fit a gift card in. And if you are a regular user of double-sided tape, you probably know this trick, but I'll show you in case you don't. The problem with double-sided tape can be that you only get one go to stick it down. It doesn't usually peel off if it's gone down skew-if. So instead, when I peel off the backing, I only peel it halfway, and then I fold that backing paper back on itself towards the outside of the piece that it's stuck on. So I've got the tape sticking out at the sides and the bottom. And because you've got that folded backing tape, when you lay this down, the paper is actually held slightly above the bottom layer. It doesn't immediately adhere. So I can take my time and line that up, and you see I can slide it around, it's not sticking. And then once I'm sure I've got it straight, I can then push down on the places where I removed that backing tape, which will then hold that in place. And then I can just pull those folded tabs there to pull out the rest of the backing paper. There we go. And then finally press everything into place. So my gift card will now slot in there, like that. And this is my insert, so I'm going to use one of these stickers on there. I'm not quite sure what. So these sheets I have started. Let's have a look. What have we got? We've got the bears on the front. I think perhaps we'll use this little polar bear. It's a bear cub with a hat. So he is quite cute. I've got my hand in front, sorry. Rookie error. Right. So this is a really quick gift card. If you've got half a dozen gift card holders to make, I suggest that you sit down and you cut all your pieces in one go, and then you punch all your pockets, and then you do your assembly all in one go, so that you've got a kind of a production line idea happening, and that's the most efficient way to work. So that's that. Let me just put a little bit of Wink of Stella on there. Make sure it's not going to blob. This is almost at the end, and I find when they are almost finished, they can have a bit of a tendency to come out a little bit quickly and unpredictably. So I put some on the kind of the ground underneath where they are, and I think I'll just do a little bit on these stars on the Christmas trees. I'm just drawing over the star. There we are. So not a lot, but just enough to give it a little bit of shimmer. Sometimes you can see this, sometimes you can't. Let me try and get that. No, I don't think you can, but I can see it. It's made it just a little bit more interesting. So there we are. That then is gift card holder number 1. And we can come on to the next one. So this one is a little bit more involved. But it's very nice. Let's put that one aside. And actually, I'm just going to drink some of my tea. It always ends up going cold, and I end up with a sore throat. And actually I'm not doing very well with it, but I'm supposed to be drinking lots extra today. I'm singing in a concert tomorrow in London. I'm in a choir, and we're performing at Union Chapel, which is extremely exciting. It's one of my bucket list things to have done. So I'm very excited about it, but I'm supposed to be drinking lots today to make sure that I can do a lot of singing tomorrow without my voice giving out. let's put that back. Okay, so this is the sample I made. So it's a conventional card on the outside, and then on the inside there is a pop-up section where your gift card will fit. Let me see if I can find my gift card. Here we go. So this time it goes in short end first, although it depends on what you've cut, but I quite like it with the short end in, and it flips like that. In fact, let me put it that way round, and then I'll open it again, and you can see, there we are. So there. Now I'll put a little bit more decoration on this than on the one I'm going to show you. I did decorate the inside as well, which is easy enough to do with the patterned paper, but you don't have to do that, and the second one I'm not going to actually do that. The paper that I've used on this is the absolutely beautiful One Horse Open Sleigh paper. It's not in the catalogues, but you can find it online. It's gorgeous. I've used a die cut owl on here. This is from the Winter Owls dies. And my colours are Pool Party and Early Espresso, and I have added some glitter because, you know, it's Christmas. Actually, I think that is picking up in the light good. So I did a double layer of the same paper, same colours on the inside there. And then on this side, I chose to add a double layer to the back, to the insert, because it's quite heavy on the front with the gift card and the fold. So having a little bit of extra weight in the back is not a bad thing, so it stands up. Plus it looks really nice actually. I don't know why I don't do that more often, add an extra layer behind the insert. It looks lovely. And that stamp is from the Brightest Glow set. And I've used the Deckled Rectangles dies to cut this. So if I bring out the measurements, so my card base, now I've cut my card base because it's not easy for me to fit my die cutting machine underneath the camera. But this is what, if you imagine that that's filled in, this is what your card base will look like. It's 11 inches by 5 3/4 of an inch, and it's scored landscape, so that's with the long edge at the top, at 4 inches, 5.5 inches, and 7 inches. So essentially it's down the middle, and then 1.5 inches either side of that centre score line. So that's the card base. So the inside layers, my contrast card is 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 of an inch, and my white is 5 1/4 by 3.5 inches. Now if you want to do a contrast with patterned paper or even a layer of stamping here, use exactly those measurements again. So my contrast is 5.5 by 3 3/4. My patterned paper is 5 1/4 by 3.5. And then the front layers again are the same. So the contrast 5.5 by 3 3/4, and the patterned paper, or if I was doing a stamped scene, the white or cream card is 5 1/4 by 3.5. So very straightforward measurements. This is a C6 card, which is a standard size in the UK and Europe, so that all fits very easily on there. So let me put those aside just for a minute. So this is my card base. So what I did was I folded it in half, and then I took my stitched rectangles. I think this is the one I used. Yes. So you want a die. It doesn't have to be a rectangle, and they're not stitched, they're deckled. It was the stitched ones before, they retired. Now they're deckled. And you want something, the card is going to go in this way round, so you want a die that is just a little bit wider than the short width of the card. That way you can fit your card in easily without tearing the card that you've made. And so I die cut that like that. So I just had, I don't know what that measures, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. Yeah. So you want a notch around about 3/4 of an inch deep. You don't have to measure it, I just eyeballed it. I did mark the centre just as I did on the last one, and then pop the die in and cut it. so it only cuts out just a little portion. Again, you could use a punch, although you're going through a double thickness of cards, so some punches don't mind that and others will rebel. Or you could use any kind of shape of die. It doesn't really matter, you just need some kind of shape cut out of there. And then that is going to stick up in the middle of the card, so these two folds need to be valley folds. When you've got your card open, so let me show you what I mean by that. So we've got a valley here, we've got a mountain here, and then we've got a valley the other side. Valley, mountain, valley. And what we're going to do is glue this centre section together. Now again, caution on the glue, we need to be able to fit our gift card in here and push it down a little way. So you don't want to glue the two layers together all the way up, otherwise you'll try and push your card in and it won't go. So you're going to glue along the bottom, but then leave this section here unglued, and you can glue these side sections fully. So let's just do that. If I turn it over to the other side. So these side sections here I can glue. Then I'm just going to run a line of glue along what's going to be the bottom and then fully glue this side section too. Pause that there just for a minute just so you can see where the glue is. So just a little bit along what's going to be the bottom and then all the way down on the sides, and then I'm just going to fold that down, and I will give it a minute to grab before I try my gift card in there. Okay, so that should then open easily, and my gift card, yeah, will push in there with no problem at all. And then I'm going to just fold the card closed and just use my bone folder one more time along there, just to make sure that everything folds nicely. Let's do it on the back as well. You've actually got 4 thicknesses of card here. All right, so I used more of the One Horse Open Sleigh paper for this. I should have said this card base is Cajun Craze. I'm using Early Espresso on there again, and then I'm using this fox paper, and I cut it so that the fox was in the middle, and I used the Cajun Craze to pick up on the red of the fox. So let's just glue those 2 layers together, and then we'll pop them on the front of the card. I haven't cut paper layers for the inside. I'm making a less elaborate version, but obviously you can. There we are. And my folding, can you see that, has not been perfectly accurate, so I'm just going to take a tiny smidgen off that edge so it doesn't kind of poke out. That's better. All right, so my owl for the front. When you die cut these owls, you need a body part. You turn it over and then you can see them better, and a pair of wings like that. Now the winter owls are discontinuing. I have used them and used them and used them. I absolutely love them. I love the stamps as well. So if you like them as well, then get them while you can. They're not going to be carrying over. They make beautiful Christmas cards, but they are also fantastic for birthday cards. I think they're really useful for men's cards. And if you haven't got them yet, why not? So when you look at the wing section, you've got these open large feathers here, and they go on the outside, and that's going to glue on there like that. So I'm just going to put a really thin line of glue along the edge of the wing on the back. There we are. So that looks like that. Let me let my iPad catch up. Yes, you can see that. Same on the other side. So that's my completed owl, and the die cut is actually perforated and scored here, so you can add some shape if you want to, depending on how you want to shape your owl. I always bring that upper wing up, and I don't usually glue that down. And I thought that was actually perfect on here because you've got the fox that looks as if he's kind of looking up at the owl. So I'm going to glue down the body of the owl, but not the wings. There we go. Then for the inside, I've got my 2 layers again, and I have early espresso ink here, and the same Merry Christmas. This is from the Brightest Glow set. It's a lovely Christmas set. There's all kinds of sentiments on here, and this Merry Christmas is a really good size, and I like the fonts on there. So that's my insert already. This will just fit in a standard envelope. That makes it very easy. And if you were giving cash instead of a card, that will also fold up and then slip in here. But let's pop the gift card in there, and then you can see the finished effect. There we are. And that's the other one. Same but different. I'm going to just clean that stamp. And we'll move on to the third version. So again, I've got a finished one to show you, and then I'm going to make another one that's the same but different. So on this one, the gift card slips into a pocket on the front, like that. I couldn't find one that coordinated very well with this. I haven't said that actually, but depending on what you're using, if you can coordinate the colours of your gift card with the colours that you want to use on here, then that looks fabulous. But to be honest, nobody's going to mind if it doesn't match. So on this one, you can write on the back your message, and on the front you've got the pocket and you've got some decoration. So these are the measurements you're going to need. So your card base is 5 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/2 inches, and it's scored portrait, so that's with the 5 1/2 inch edge at the top. It'll be round this way at 1 1/2. And then I've got 3 pieces of patterned paper on this. This large one is 5 1/2 inches by 3 3/4 of an inch. The one for the front of the pocket is 5 1/2 by 1 1/4 inches. And then I added a little strip on the back, which is 5 1/2 inches by 1/2 inch. Now, because this was stripes, I wanted the stripes to kind of continue down, so I was careful when I cut it. I cut a piece longer than I needed, so I could cut this piece and then the strip from the same sheet, but that might just be me. The second one I've got is a much more random pattern, so it doesn't matter nearly so much. For this one, I've used the Forever Forest dies to cut out some Christmas trees. I've used some of the garden green ribbon. There's a combo pack in the annual catalogue with garden green and real red. My card here is garden green as well. And then I cut out some little stars also from the Forever Forest dies. I don't know if you can see them. I cut them from the More Dazzle specialty paper, which is kind of like glimmer paper on steroids. The glitter on it is much bigger and chunkier, but it gives a little bit of sparkle there. So that's what I used for that one. Oh, and I haven't said the, let me just lay that onto something a little bit darker so you can hopefully see. There we go. The fancy corners there. I'm going to do the same again in a minute, so you'll see me do this, but this is done with the very best trio punch with this corner shape on here. Alright, so for the one that I'm going to make now, I've got some Misty Moonlight cards, so I picked that colour out from the paper. So the paper is from A Walk in the Forest. So I've got my 3 pieces already cut, and you can see that this does not need to exactly match up. The ribbon I've got a piece of cut ribbon as well, which I'm just searching for. Here we are. I also just found a pen in that bucket. I looked everywhere for that last night. Okay. The ribbon, this is the, what's it called, silver and white ribbon. It's a sheer ribbon with a silver edging and a kind of a sparkle. It's really lovely. And I've cut a piece, I don't know what this measures, I eyeballed it, 7 1/2 inches roughly, to wrap around. So on this one, I cut a longer piece of ribbon, and once I put my paper on, I tied it around that flap with a bow on the front before I folded the flap up and glued it. However, this ribbon is a lot more springy, and I thought I was going to have trouble tying it round and tying a bow that would sit where I wanted it to. So I'm going to cheat, and I've got a sheet of ribbon. Oh, my light's just gone out. I have got it charging, but it was obviously just didn't have enough charge. It'll come back on in a minute, hopefully. There we go. Let's hope it'll stay, and it is plugged into the mains. Right, I've got a piece that I'm going to wrap round, and then I'm going to add a bow on the front, so the bow won't be tied round, it'll just be added. So this is my card, which is 5 3/4 of an inch this way and 5 1/2 inches that way, so it's nearly a square but not quite, and I have scored it down here at 1 1/4 inches. This light's going to play up now. Just going to have to give it a minute, I think, to get enough charge to keep going. It's probably going to go off again in a minute. So I scored that at 1.5, and I'm just going to use my bone folder on that. So there's a couple of things that you have to remember to do on this before you fold up your pocket here. So the first one is to add your paper here, because the paper goes right down to the bottom. Okay, I'm sorry about the light. Actually, I think it's more noticeable to me than it was probably to you. It'll come back on in a minute, I'm sure. I was obviously using the battery power faster than it was recharging, so it needs to just get a little bit more in there before the light will shine again. All right, so that's my paper in there. I'm no pattern to worry about on this. And then this is my piece for the front. So that's how the pocket's going to go. So I kind of hold that in there and then open this up. And then there's no danger that I'm going to accidentally stick the paper to the inside of the pocket. And believe me, I've done that before. If I have to turn things around and turn things over, my brain doesn't like that. I've told you before, if I'm map reading, I have to turn the map round. I can't just look at it and turn it round in my head. All right, so that's going to come up like that. So now I'm going to put this piece of ribbon around the front of the pocket. The first thing I'm going to do is to add a glue dot at each end of the ribbon to hold it in place on the back. I'm not going to measure the centre of this, I'm just going to do that by eye. Make sure it's nice and taut. Like that. There we are. And then I'm going to glue that pocket up first, and I'm going to add the bow afterwards, because I'm going to put a sentiment on here as well. So I want to make sure of where everything's going to go before I put the bow on there. And what I've done, look, I've completely forgotten to punch that. Let me show you on a piece of scrap card how I punched that. And I'm just going to reach one across my desk. Hang on a second. Okay, so what I had meant to do, and I've forgotten, and it's too late now, and I don't want to punch through these two layers together because it will just cut them off and I won't get the border around. But let me show you what I had meant to do. So if this vanilla card is my base and the white is my patterned paper, what I had planned to do was to punch using this punch. Now mostly I tell you to use your punches upside down, but with the corner punches, use them up the right way, and tempting though it is to press on the corner, press down in the center, you'll get a much better result that way. So that has taken off that corner, and you may be able to see that that is not a symmetrical shape. So if I want my corners to be symmetrical, I need to turn the card over before I punch the opposite corner like that. So now I have nice symmetrical corners on there. And then imagining that this is my patterned paper, this is smaller, but I'm just going to punch the corners in exactly the same way. So I'm going to turn it over to punch the second corner. These pieces that come off actually make lovely decorative pieces for your cards, almost like photo corners, little accents. And actually, let's try this again. Not my day today. There we go. I've done. I've got something around the wrong way, so it's not symmetrical. I have no idea what I did. Anyway, let me show you this one where it worked beautifully. Okay, this is what you will end up with. I haven't got time to play with that because time is ticking on, but I've got symmetrical corners and my paper is beautifully punched. I think what I did, I punched a top corner and a bottom corner. That's what I did wrong, but never mind. You get the idea, I'm sure. So it makes a really nice decorative top piece, but we're going to manage without it on this and it will be fine. So what I can do now is fold up and glue my pocket into place. So you can either use double-sided tape or you can use glue. I'm going to use glue. Now we've got a long pocket here. There's plenty of room to fit our card in. I don't want to glue at the bottom, but I am going to glue the sides, and of course I don't want to glue that top edge. But I'm going to put, you know, a good border of glue on here, rather than just a little line along the outer edge. Just fold that up and glue it into place. I'm going to hold that there just for a minute. There we are. So that's my pocket made. Let me see if my light will come back on. Don't know how long for. There we are. So that will fit in there really easily now. And I'm going to stamp a happy birthday on here. So I've got a strip of white card. I wasn't quite sure how narrow I could go. So we will see. And I haven't got my stamps here. What have I done with them? I'm really not doing well today, am I? Are they on my shelf? Yes, they are. Bear with me. I'm just going to grab the stamps. There we go. You couldn't exactly call today a teaching session for how to do crafting, could you? I've forgotten things all over the place. Never mind, at least you can tell it's live. Alright, so I'm using the Christmas Classic set. I'm using the Christmas and the Happy, so I can say Happy Christmas. This block is probably a bit big. I just grabbed what I could see. So I always use my grid paper to line up my clear stamps. So I lay the stamp along a line and then I make sure the block is lined up on a line when I pick up the stamp, and then I know they're going to come straight. So I might be able to do this. I've got some thinner strips, which is what I wanted to use, because then I can put a contrast behind. Let's see. Let's try this thinner strip. And I have Night of Navy ink and I have Misty Moonlight. So I'm going to stamp the larger one, which is Christmas, in Misty Moonlight. And if you're getting my head, I apologise. Oh, and that's a dud too. Come on, Sally, get a grip. Actually, I'm going to punch this first. So this is my, I can never remember what this is called, Happy Labels Pick a Punch. Let's slide this in, and the beauty of this punch is that you can punch different widths of cards. So this is 3/4 of an inch wide, and then I've got a piece of Misty Moonlight here, which is an inch wide. So that will slide in as well. It sits in a different channel as I slide it in. Those two pieces layer together perfectly to give me the decorative ending. So now let's try again with the stamping. Let's see if I can do it properly this time. I should probably have a foam mat. There we are. So that's my Christmas word. And then I'm going to stamp the happy just above it in Night of Navy. And both those blues are in the paper. That's how I chose them. So there I've got Happy Christmas in 2 colours. And I'm going to glue them on top of each other and then trim them. So my thinking is that this is going to go on here, about there, something like that. So I just need to trim a little bit off the edge, and I am going to trim the 2 thicknesses together. Dimensionals on the back. Just line that up there. I'm going to pop in my gift card and then decide where to put the bow. So I think I need to put the bow over here because that kind of balances out the sentiment that's on the opposite side. So I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of my bow and pop it on there, and then that is the front of my gift card holder finished. Then for the back, I have somewhere, nope, can't find that either. A piece of card, there we go. I don't think I've got that on there, had I? So let me write that on there. I'm going to, what shall I call it, back panel. The first one I did was white, so I didn't feel the need for an extra piece. But this is 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 of an inch. There we are. So I've got some patterned paper to go on there, but I think I'm also going to stamp on it, so let's use the same stamps as we did on the front. I'm going to put the big one just slightly to the right of centre and then bring in that little one slightly to the left. I'm going to shut those up now so I don't lay my arm across them, and then my patterned paper will go across the bottom. And again, grid paper is really useful for lining up things like this. And I've done a stellar job on cutting that because it's a little bit too short. Can you see? Honestly. So let's just trim that too. Just needs a tiny bit taken off. There we are. That's better. And I'm actually going to take an equivalent bit off the long edge as well, just so that the borders all the way around are even. So this is up that way. Let's turn it over, and that's my panel for the back. There we are. And that's the other one. They look completely different in different colours, but they are constructed in exactly the same way. So let me bring back the other two that I have made this afternoon. There we are. So there's this one that's got the paper pocket inside, this one which is a pop-up, and this one which has got a pocket on the front. They're all quick and easy. I've made 3 of them in about 45 minutes. So hopefully if you've got gift cards to give this year, you too will be able to find the time to make something that's a little bit more interesting than the envelope it comes in. Let me just cover you up and bring you back up to say goodbye. 3 o'clock. I always say this is the quickest hour of the week. I'm up the right way, yes I am. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for bearing with me as I made all manner of mistakes this afternoon. I think I must need a little lie down. I will be back here on the 8th of December. As I said, I think I'm probably going to be doing thank you cards, but I will put an event on Facebook a few days beforehand so that you can see for sure. I might have a brilliant idea that's better than that one. So take a look there and see. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing, and I will look forward to seeing you in a fortnight. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.